About 83% of you guys are not subscribed. Subscribing, clicking that like button, and commenting all help me out a lot in doing what I really want to do. Thank you guys so much for all your support. What is going on, guys? Rogue TCG here, bringing another Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG deck profile. You guys voted for last week. I am responding. Here is Voiceless Voice. This deck is really interesting. It is a ritual deck that basically revolves around Low, as well as Skull Guardian and Cerebus, in order to basically make an almost infinite resource loop where you have recursive negates, recursive material, and you can basically outgrind your opponents out of any game, as well as having gigantic bunguses with Skull Guardian, Protector of the Voiceless Voice, and such. But that's enough yapping from me about this deck. Let us go through the card by card, and let me tell you my thoughts about it at the very end. Starting off, we are on triple Low, the Prayers of the Voiceless Voice. If you ritual summon exactly one light ritual monster, Warrior Dragon, with a card effect that requires use of monsters, this card can be used as the entire tribute. You can so it's like a Gishki card, like the Vision. So it's like one of those. If this card is normal or special, you can place a Voiceless Voice continuous spell or trap from your deck on the face-up spell and trap zone. If a light ritual monster, Warrior Dragon, is special summoned to your field while it's in our graveyard, we can special summon it to our field. So this card is insanely good. It basically fulfills the entire requirement for a ritual monster. This card is necessary for our ritual monsters to actually really have effects, so it needs to be on field. But good thing it brings itself on field if we special summon one of them, as well as getting any of our continuous spells or traps onto the field in order to get even more advantage over time and get even more resources. So Low is basically the cornerstone of this deck, and we have to be playing 3 of it, which is unfortunate for budget duelists because this card is quite expensive. We're on triple Diviner of the Herald. It's our other best normal summon, so we're playing 6 total in the deck. If it's normal or special, we can send a fairy monster from our deck or extra deck to the graveyard. It increases the card's level by that monster's level until end of turn. And if it's tributed, we can special summon one level 2 or lower fairy monster from our hand or deck, except for Diviner. We can only use each effect of Diviner once per turn. This actually comes up. This is a ritual deck, so we actually can tribute it to make a ritual summon, and the level modulation does change a lot of things too, because it's a tuner. So our cards don't lock us into cards from the extra deck or only rituals and stuff like that. So we can actually synchro summon cards. So that's why we actually are playing synchros in our extra deck, because we can make them. So we are playing triple Diviner of the Herald. The main card we want to send to graveyard off Diviner of the Herald is going to be Herald of the Arclight. When this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, we can add a ritual monster or ritual spell from our deck to our hand. So functionally, it turns Diviner into add a ritual monster or ritual spell, or fetch an Ash Blossom, Imperm, or Veiler from our opponent, which is quite nice. And that secondary effect can either grab Low, because it's a light fairy, that's level 1. It can't grab itself, which is unfortunate, but we did actually add another target in our deck. This is what I don't see a lot of people running this, or I haven't seen anyone running this as of right now. Consecrated Light. I'm running 1 Consecrated Light. So if we actually do tribute the Diviner of the Heralds, we get a Floodgate. We are not summoning any darks. Our plans aren't really going to be summoning any darks. We do have dark extra deck monsters, however, it's not necessary to make any of them. So this card ideally would hurt our opponent a lot more than it would hurt us. Other cards we can send off Diviner of the Herald. We can also send stuff from the main deck, so if we needed to, we can also send that Low to the graveyard if we already have everything we need. We can send Mudora. We can send Mudora, or we can send Keldo in order to curb graveyard strategies like Snake Eye as well. Next, for the Voiceless Voice cards, we are on double Cerebus, Dragon Sage of the Voiceless Voice. We can special summon this card from our hand by shuffling 2 spells from our hand and our graveyard into the deck, including a ritual spell. You can only use special summon Cerebus once per turn this way. When your opponent activates a card or effect, we can bounce this to our hand, special summon 1 light ritual monster, Warrior Dragon from your hand or deck, but shuffle it into the deck during the end phase of the next turn. You can use 1 Cerebus, Dragon Sage of the Voiceless Voice once per turn. But this card is incredibly strong, being able to grab Cerebus, the Ancient and Ascended, an old ritual monster from our deck or hand, or to grab Skull Guardian from our deck or hand as well, since it specifies dragons or warriors. So we can just cheat them out at least for a turn. Cerebus being the best one to cheat out just for a turn, cheating himself out pretty much. We're on triple Saphira, Dragon Queen of the Voiceless Voice. We can pitch this card in a ritual spell from our deck to the graveyard, so allowing us to send cards from our deck to the graveyard as cost, so really strong stuff. Then you can add 1 light ritual monster, Warrior Dragon, from your deck or graveyard to your hand. You can banish this card from your graveyard, ritual summon 1 light ritual monster, Warrior or Dragon from your hand by attributing monsters from your hand or field whose total levels equal or exceed the level of the ritual monsters. You can only activate each effect of Saphira, Dragon Queen of the Voiceless Voice once per turn. So functionally, this is just another copy of your ritual spell. It functions as a ritual spell in your graveyard, lets you send the ritual card to your graveyard, and also lets you search for Skull Guardian or Saravis, or even the ritual spell if you really wanted to. Let me just make sure I'm right. No, I'm incorrect. You cannot add the ritual spell. I am a silly goober. But this card is incredibly strong, and we are going to be playing 3 of it because it is functionally the Lunalite Kaleido Chick of the deck, in my opinion. We are on triple Saravis, Ancient, and Ascended because we do want to open it because it's functionally a hand trap as well. You can ritual summon this card using Sprite's Blessing. Never going to happen. When your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a monster you control, quick effect, you can pitch this card from our hand to negate the activation. So, nice stuff. It's a hand trap that prevents Imperm and Veiler. Really good when you have such good, juicy targets like Low and Diviner. So, really great stuff. And on field, if your opponent would special summon a monster, quick effect, we can bounce this card to our hand and then negate the special summon. And if we do, banish that monster that it would have summoned. So it is a judgment, or not a judgment per se, it's more like a solemn warning on field. So really, really strong card. And it also bounces itself, so you can use its in-hand effect too. So this card is actually really, really good for this deck. And I'm really excited to see what this deck in the future is going to be doing, because it's already performing. So I want to see if it performs even more. But next we're on triple Skull Guardian, Protector of the Voiceless Voice. We can ritual summon it using Prayers of the Voiceless Voice. We're going to get to that soon. Against 2050 attack if you control low Voiceless Voice in your field or graveyard. So typically it's going to be a 4100 attack monster, pretty difficult to get over. You use each effect of Skull Guardian, Protector of the Voiceless Voice once per turn. If it's a ritual summon, you can add a Voiceless Voice or a ritual monster, warrior, or dragon from your deck to your hand, so it searches any of the archetype when it's summoned. And if your opponent activates a card or effect while you control low Prayer of the Voiceless Voice, you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. Yep. So, incredibly strong card. It's a negate. It searches a card on summon. It's gigantic, and it gets gigantic whether or not low is on the field or in the graveyard. So, really great. We want to be playing 3 of it because we want to open it, but we can also search it throughout the course of our combo. It's really nice that we have 2 different ritual monsters in our deck that are technically boss monsters. So if we open one, we can search the other one with our search effects. Run 1 copy of 1-for-1 in order to special summon low or also Consecrated Light from our deck if need be. So, really strong card there. Run triple pre-preparations of rites because this mentions the ritual spell, and the ritual spell mentions it, so we can search both with pre-prep, which makes this like probably the best tutor card in the entire deck. Run 1 Call by the Grave for hand traps. We're on a triple Barrier of the Voiceless Voice. While you control low and or light ritual monster, your opponent can't target ritual monsters for attacks, and your opponent can only target light monsters you control. Sorry, they can't target light monsters you control with card effects. During your main phase, you can add 1 Voiceless Voice or 1 Skull Guardian ritual monster from your deck to your hand, except for Barrier of the Voiceless Voice. So functionally, how you go is you go low, you set the barrier, you go barrier to add whatever you need. Probably going to be something along the lines of Saphira. And then we can go Saphira, pitch the card, we get to add the Skull Guardian, and we pitch the prayer, and we can go Saphira in the graveyard, banish the prayer, banish itself, use lowest material, make the Skull Guardian, low bring itself back out, Skull Guardian, search whatever we need, and there we go. There's that combo, 1-card combo with low. So there's that for y'all. We're on double Blessing of the Voiceless Voice. You can target one of your Voiceless Voice monsters that's banished from your graveyard, so it can grab you back your Saphiras, which is really nice. And then add it to your hand. If a non-ritual monster or is normal or special summoned face up, you can ritual summon 1 light ritual monster or your dragon from your hand by attributing monsters from your hand or field whose total levels equal or exceed the level of that ritual monster. And if you do, it can't be destroyed by battle. And that's just a can't be destroyed by battle, period. So, really good way to get around the Tempais is just to summon something like a Skull Guardian or Saravis in defense position with this card, and they can't really get over it. Although they still can't kill it by swapping it to attack position and just crashing into it a bunch. But at least Skull Guardian is quite large, so if you do it that way, it might be able to give us another turn. But this card is really good, basically being able to ritual summon on your opponent's turn, getting that Saravis out of your hand, even without using the Dragon Sage effect, or getting another Skull Guardian in your opponent's turn to get that on-summon effect to search another card, and to be able to negate again. So there's that. We're on triple Prayers of the Voiceless Voice. This card can be used to ritual summon any light ritual monster. You must also tribute light monsters from your hand or field whose total levels exceed or equal the level of the ritual monster. If a face-up light ritual monster you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect, except during the damage step, you can banish this card from your graveyard. Special summon 1 Saravis, the Ancient and Ascended, Saphira, Queen of Dragons, or Skull Guardian, Protector of the Voiceless Voice. So it mentions Saravis and Skull Guardian. So we can search Skull Guardian and itself with pre-prep, which is quite nice, but we can't search Ceravis and that because Ceravis doesn't mention it. You can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon one Ceravis, Ancient and Ascended, Saphira, Dragon King from your hand or deck, and ignoring summoning conditions. You can use each effective prayer of the Voiceless Voice once per turn. So it does have that effect to cheat out another one from your deck. However, we're typically just going to be using it as a normal ritual card. There goes something on mine. I think that was my phone. That's unfortunate. But if your opponent does choose to remove a light ritual monster, you do just get another one, which is really nice, especially if you grab the Skull Guardian, because then again, we get that search, or if you grab Ceravis, and we get 2 different points of interactions with our opponents. Last card of the Voiceless Voice in the main deck, we're on 1 Radiance of the Voiceless Voice. During the main phase, we can activate one of these effects. Either shuffle a light ritual monster or ritual spell from your hand or graveyard into the deck. And if we do add one add to your hand or special summon a Voiceless Voice monster from your deck, either being able to grab your Ceravis out of deck, so you can use that on-field effect to get the other Ceravis, or being able to grab low to get your play started. This card is really, really strong. That's it for our main deck Voiceless Voice. We're playing a pretty large ender. We're playing 31 cards, but we're playing, again, these 3 cards I mentioned here. So we're only allowed to really add 6 non-engine cards. So we're adding triple Valor and triple Imperm, because Valor is a light monster, so we can add it back with some certain cards. And Imperm is just really good. We don't really want to be playing Ash if we're not really, it's not going to get too much value, because their opponent can get it back with Hida, and then make Promethean Princess and combo off. So we are choosing to run a little bit of a smaller package, because we also do have the triple Ceravis, which is also hand traps. Mudora and Keldo are not hand traps per se, but there are cards to play around our opponent and to interact with them severely. And they can also be really good tributes, even if we draw them in hand for our ritual cards, even though low can be the entire requirement. So there's lots of different ways you can play around it. So example, if we open Diviner plus Mudora, we can go Diviner, send Herald, and change its level to add a card. And then if we do Tribute Summon for a ritual, we can go Diviner plus Mudora in hand in order to get something like Skull Guardian, and then we can go Diviner, get Consecrated Light, and then we have Mudora live in the graveyard for our opponent. So we can end on that sort of boards. But our main deck is going to be super expensive, around $229 for the whole main deck. That's just because the Voiceless Voice stuff is really expensive. Not really a budget deck, unfortunately. But for our extra deck, a lot of it isn't really super important except for the Heralds, but there are some nice cards in there that do synergize really well with the deck. First of all, we are on Relinquished Anima. We have level 1s in Low and Consecrated Light, although we can't use Consecrated Light for Anima because it's a dark, so do keep that in mind. But Low is a really good card to pivot into Anima because we can get it back from graveyard using its own effect. We're on 1 IP Masquerena, 1 Dark the Dark Charmer Gloomy, 1 SP Little Knight. Dark the Dark Charmer Gloomy is here if we use a Link monster for its material. SP Little Knight is kind of self-explanatory, same with IP Masquerena. We're on 1 Dynamondo. This is a ritual-specific Link monster. It needs 2 monsters, including a ritual monster. If it's special summon, you can target 1 card on the field and 1 ritual monster in your graveyard. Shuffle both into deck. During your opponent's turn, quick effect, you can tribute this card, target a ritual monster in your graveyard, either add it to hand or special summon it. You can use each effect of Dynamondo once per turn. It's a really nice way to cheat out your rituals from the graveyard, especially the one you used for its own Link summon. It lets you shuffle the cards from graveyard back on and to shuffle a card on field back, which is great removal. Shuffling back is a unicorn-like effect, which is our next card. But Dynamondo, I believe, is quite good, especially for rituals. It's like Nightmare Unicorn for the rituals with a little extra bonus. I did mention Nightmare Unicorn. It's pretty self-explanatory. Not going to mention it too much further. We're on 1 Access Code Talker, just so we can OTK sometimes remove problematic board states. There's one issue with the deck is it doesn't actually have too much spot removal, so Access Code helps us a little bit there. We are running a lot of level 7s. The Skull Guardian and the Ceravis are level 7, so theoretically, in time, we could make Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon. It's just a card we can include. 1 Superstar Slayer Typhon Sky Crisis. God damn, it's a fucking tongue twister. We can just make this certain corner scenarios, so we're running it. Triple Herald of the Arclight in order to always get a search off the Diviner. And then summons we can get from the extra deck is 1 FA Dawn Dragster. If we go Diviner and then Herald, that's level 6, and we see to level 1, so we can make 7s pretty easy with either the Low or the Consecrated Light. So if we got the Consecrated Light on field, if we have a Diviner, we're probably not going to have the Consecrated Light. But we can make FA Dawn Dragster a Spell Trap Negate. We can make Black Rose Dragon a field nuke, or we can make Chaos Angel, which doesn't actually need tuners to be made using some of our random cards. So we could make this off of stuff Like if we have Diviner and then low, and we didn't use a Diviner effectively, let's say get negated, we have Diviner, low, and something like the Ceravis, which is a 7. That's a Chaos Angel there, but that's kind of grasping for straws, to be completely honest. But that's it for the main and extra. Chaos Angel takes up a lot of price in the extra. You see right there, 193 right there now. So it took about like 40-ish dollars. So not the cheapest thing ever. But onto the side, again, the side is completely subjective. You can change it however you'd like. It's based off your local metagame, so it's whatever that is. We're on triple Ghost Ogre for 10 pi, double Cosmic Cyclone for 10 pi and for other stuff, triple Evenly Matched, triple Droll and Lockbird for Snake Eye and other rogue decks. We're on Bystials, a little bit of a larger package because we're a fully light deck. We're on 1 Magnemite, 1 Jerusalem, and double Phantasme as a searchable card off Magnemite. Also just a good hand trap if our opponent is on a Link deck. It's also really good for fixing our hands, so lots of positives with Phantasme. But that's about it for the deck profile. I think this deck is incredibly strong, and I really enjoy the play pattern that it provides, basically being the modernized version of Drytron per se. Being a ritual deck that can do non-ritual things is really interesting, and I would love to see Konami pursue this idea in the future with other archetypes like Hungry Burger and Drytron and this deck. So I really enjoy the play pattern, and I hope they make more decks like this, but that's enough yapping for me. Thank you all for watching the video, if you still are, and I'll be seeing you all next time. Bye-bye! Thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you wanted to talk to more Yu-Gi-Oh players like yourself, I would highly recommend checking out our Discord server. Link is going to be in the description, as well as the QR code on screen. We do talk somewhat frequently about Yu-Gi-Oh and the current meta, so I would really enjoy to see you there. As well as we do recently now have channel memberships available on our YouTube channel, where we have 3 different tiers. We have Super Supporter at $2 a month, where you get loyalty badges, emojis, guaranteed comment responses, a shout out at the end of every video, as well as access to the members only Discord channel, where you get early sneak peeks at future videos. There is the Giga Supporter at $5 a month, where you have early access to all new videos about a day or two before they go up, as well as all the previous offers. And for $15 a month, we do have our final tier, which is going to be Femboy Fanatic. You get a guaranteed customized video every single month, as well as 1 hour of my time. Could be for anything you'd like. You want a duel? Absolutely. You want me to help build a deck? Absolutely. You want to play some Helldivers? Sure. I'll do anything for an hour once a month. But supporting does help me out quite a lot, and it does help me produce all of these videos. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll be seeing y'all later. Bye-bye.